to Insurance Agent Training every single Monday at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time. I come to you to bring you insurance specific training. Hope you guys are having an incredible Labor Day. I'm going to talk about instead of talking about giving you the day off on Labor Day, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about taking your game to the next level, making more money, and instead of being laborless, today we're going to talk about helping you build and leave a legacy. Today's how to show you how to build a $1 million insurance agency. I get a lot of questions, a lot of agents calling in, a lot of people asking, hey dude, how do I do that? How do I make $1 million a year in the insurance business? And today, we're coming to you on Labor Day to show you, what's up Leslie, what's up Vince? We're coming to you today to show you how to make $1 million a year by building an insurance agency. You say, Cody, that sounds crazy, that sounds nuts, that sounds too big. Well, a lot of people are going to say that, but I'm here to tell you, how many leads do you need? Do you like to see agents work per week? What's up, Brian? Dude, I want to see agents work at least a minimum of 20. Typically, I'd rather see 25 or 30 at least. So today it's all about showing you, the audience, the insurance agent out there wanting to know, hey, dude, I want to make $1 million a year and I want to build a $1 million a year insurance agency. How do I do it? It's a what's up, Tony? What's up, Adam? It's a super popular question that I get all the time. I've secretly been in, what's up, Vince? Hope you're doing well, brother. What's up, Tony? I secretly have built a multi-million-dollar insurance agency on the side that nobody knows anything about. And so today I'm going to talk about how I've been able to do it, how you can do it, and I'm going to break down the math of how you can build a $1 million insurance agency. So today, do you believe on live insurance agent training do you believe that you can make it $1 million a year in this business? Do you believe, and you may say, well, dude, I can't do it on my own. Well, maybe you can do it on your own, or maybe you don't want to do it on your own. Maybe you want to have some help. So I'm going to show you today how to get some help, be able to do exactly this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down. We're going to break down $1 million, okay? And what we're going to do is I'm going to start, and we're going to use final expense as an example. So let's just say, hey, you're like, dude, I would say that maybe your average sale is about $720 of annual premium per year. So say you average $720 of annual premium per sale, okay? $720, about $60 a month, fairly average. Typically we do a little better than that, but again, I'm going to be conservative. You say, okay, well, what is $1 million divided by 720? When you take $1 million divided by 720, you get about 4,629 apps. Okay, I'm sorry. When you take this, everything's going to depend on your override too. So I want you guys to know that. Say that you're recruiting agents, and every override's different. Some people take way too much of an override. Some people take too small. But let's just say that you're on that you want to recruit agents, and you want to make a 30% override. Okay. So when you take 720 times 30%, you end up with $216 per sale. So then, what is $1 million divided by $216? Because if you make a final expense sale, and let's just say you get a downline and you get a 30% override, on a 30% override, you make about $216 per sale. You make about $216 per sale if you have a downline that writes a final expense case. Well, what is $1 million divided by 216? It's technically 4,629 apps is what that equals per year. Well, today I'm gonna just scratch that, and we're gonna talk about 5,000 apps a year. You say, okay, Cody, how do I break down 5,000 apps a year? The way to get to 5,000 apps a year is you could say, okay, well, you know what? I want to have, you know what? Maybe you guys are able to recruit agents, and you're able to have, let's just say, because to break down 5,000 apps a year, what's the average agent write? What's the average agent? What's up, Leslie? What's the average agent write? When you're talking about writing business, how many apps does an average agent write per week? If you're on Facebook or YouTube, jump in, chime in. What's an average agent write in apps per week? I would say an average is about 3 apps per week. You say, dude, I could do more. Well, dude, I hope you could do more because that's not a lot. But also, 92% of agents fail because they average an app or 2 a week. 3 apps a week is also, easy math sake, is 150 apps per year. So if you look at it and you say, okay, to make $1 million, I'm going to simplify this, to make $1 million on a 30%, so say you're getting a 30% override, and say your average, the average sale is 720 of AP, 30% of 720 is $216 per sale. So let's just call it 5,000 apps. That's what your downlines would have to do for you to earn $1 million in this business. Let's also talk about that. 5,000 apps a year. Okay, $1 million divided by 5,000 apps a year. That is, let's just say the average agent. And again, everybody that watches all of our stuff feels like that they can do this. Let's just say the average agent writes 150 apps per year, if you can read my handwriting. About 150 apps a year, but what's that? That's equates to about 3 apps a week, which you say, you know what? I always preach the whole set 15, C10, and sell, well, I always say sell 5, but I'm going to be conservative. I'm going to say that 150 apps a year is average because Timothy, Joanna, John, I'm telling you, man, Josh, Steven, I'm telling you, 150 apps a year is fairly average. I know agents that write 300-400 apps a year. I also know agents that write 30 or 40 apps a year and they're broke. So let's just say you break it down and you're like, okay, I want to make $1 million insurance. Let's just say your override's only 30%. Some overrides are smaller. Some overrides are way bigger. I know people that have overrides of 70, 80, 100%. So I'm going to use 30 because that's a fair number as long as you're providing value to your downline. Average annual premium of $720. 30% of that is $216 per sale. You need 5,000 apps a year at $216 a sale to equal $1 million. If the average agent writes 150 apps a year, then what you would need is 33 agents producing 150 apps a year to write 5,000 apps, and you would end up making $1 million. You say, dude, that seems too simple. Well, first you got to find 33 people that are producing 150 apps a year, and then you got to think about chargebacks, you got to think about persistency, you got to think about all that. Retention, placement. So it's going to end up being inflated once you take all that into account. I'm just keeping it really simple on Labor Day, on the Labor Day where there's no labor. I'm going to teach you, instead of going out and producing and being labor intensive, I'm going to teach you how to build a legacy in your business and be able to help a ton of people. You could say, well, dude, you could say, well, finding 33 people that produce 150 apps a year is really difficult. And maybe it is. Maybe it is. I mean, if you've got the system and you've got the leads and you've got the training, that's not hard. But, maybe you say, well, dude, why don't I just get 100 agents that are writing 1 app per week? Because you could say that. You could say, well, dude, okay, I could have 33 agents writing 150 apps a year. Or I could have 100 agents writing 1 app a week. Either way, you're going to end up at 5,000 apps, which means you can end up making $1 million all by having, if all these other numbers are true, you could have 33 agents writing 150 apps per year. Guess what? That's 5,000 apps. Okay? Or you could have 100 agents writing apps a year. Either way, in either example, it's 5,000 apps. A lot of people think, dude, 5,000 apps is nuts. That's super, super difficult. That's crazy. Dude, it's actually a lot easier than people think to make $1 million in this business and to build a $1 million insurance agency. Now, what's really cool is you guys never see me publicly try to recruit anyone ever, and you never will, because if you do it well, you don't have to. You don't have to be the person that everybody hates because you're always just publicly recruiting. But if the goal is to make $1 million, is to build a $1 million agency, then that's an easy way to break down how to make $1 million a year and build an insurance agency, create some wealth, create a legacy instead of being labor intensive, is simply by breaking down the average sale, the average override, and then how many apps, the number of apps that you would need times your average override to make $1 million. And generally it's about, if you do it on a small basis, it's generally about 5,000 apps at $200 a sale. And there's plenty of people that get a lot more than $200 a sale. Shoot, look at all these captive shops where they're making 30, 40, 50%. I'm not here recruiting, I'm not here pitching, I'm not here doing anything. I'm simply bringing fact and awareness on Labor Day to the fact that anyone can make $1 million a year in this business, and it isn't rocket science. But I got a question that just jumped in. Craig said, hey dude, any tips on recruiting? I think this is, you want to make $1 million a year and build an insurance agency? I'm going to give you a tip. I'm going to give you two tips. I'm going to give you two tips on recruiting right now. I'm going to keep it super, super, super simple. 2 tips on recruiting so that you can make at least $1 million a year. 2 tips. The first thing is, most people would think, do you know what? I need to stop selling so that then I can start recruiting. It's actually the opposite. Bear with me. 2 tips on recruiting. Tip number 1 would be you need to be producing at a high level. You see what I'm saying? You need to be producing at a high level, because when you want to recruit, you don't need to be able to talk about what other people have done. You need to be able to talk about what you're doing. Hey, selfie video on YouTube. Hey, I made $8,000 this week. Here's how I did it, and here's how you can do it too. If you want to make $8,000 every week, you may want to call me, because I've got the secret sauce of how to teach people a system to make $8,000 a week. Say that's you doing a video on YouTube or a video on Facebook, and all your family and friends are seeing it, and they're like, oh, whoa, he made $8,000 in a week, or he made $3,000 in a week, whatever it is. And then you're able to put that out there because you're producing at a high level. So you need to be able to show what this is called it's called social proof. But it doesn't come from you saying, hey, I don't sell, but I can teach you how to sell. Like that's backwards. The social proof of it is you are a producer. And you're able to say, hey, I'm a producer. Here's my pay stub. I made, $218,000, and I can help you do the same thing if you allow me to help you. Because you could say, okay, I have social proof as a producer. But the other thing is the second tip. Because Craig asked, hey, any tips on recruiting? Dude, I'm not a big recruiter. No one will ever see me publicly trying to recruit. I haven't put a video up about recruiting in a very long time, because I don't think to put it out there that you're trying to recruit. You need to just be doing and have people following you, because there's social proof. Like me making $117,000 at 19 in college playing basketball as a student athlete. Dude, that's social proof. I got the 1099 to prove it. Or the fact that I've got 4 different insurance companies that'll bring in over $8 million a year. That's social proof. But Tip number one is you got to be a producer. You got to be able to show social proof that you're a producer, and then you got to get attention, which is why. And I didn't even start YouTube. Actually, what's funny is I did start YouTube, Secure Agent Mentor, 2.5 years ago, 30 months ago, whatever it's been. It was like January of 16. And I thought I was doing it to recruit. In reality, dude, I enjoy lead generation and training a lot more, so you don't even see us try to recruit. But we have an agency that Steve runs, does an awesome job, and it's something that I've learned personally because social proof as a producer, and then once you're a consistent producer, you're like, hey, I made, this amount of money, and you can too, right? That's social proof. The second tip is you got to get attention. It's one thing to be a really good producer, but if no one knows who you are, it doesn't matter because you're not getting any attention. It all comes back to social proof as a producer, and then you got to get attention. Hey, you put a video up on your Facebook, or you do a live videos. Maybe you do a diary throughout the week on Facebook, or maybe every Sunday night you recap your previous week. Hey, this is me. I made $1,600 last week. I talked to 6 people. I've got leads in a system to show people if they ever have interest in making $1,600 a week, I can help people do that. And then you're able to put that out there because you've got proof, and then you're getting attention. But a lot of people that want to successfully build an agency, they start with attention, but there's no proof. Dude, I'm not going to join something unless the dude that's pitching me on joining it is a freaking rock star. That's backwards. It makes no common sense. But there's so many people out there that are backwards in what they're doing and what they're thinking. I'm going to break down the numbers one more time because you guys say, well, dude, I don't think you can build $1 million insurance agency. I just walked through it. Let's just say that the average sell is $720 of annual premium. If your override is 30%, for example, then that's $216 per sell that you're making off of a downline producing. $216. If you take that, $216 divided by $1 million, that's 5,000 apps. And when you need 5,000 apps, I gave you one of 2 examples. You can have 33 agents writing 3 apps a week, or you can have 100 agents writing 1 app a week. It's your choice. Or you can have 17 agents writing 6 apps a week, which is much tougher to keep those agents happy and keep it long term, because the biggest reason agents fail is a lack of consistency. It's a lack of being consistent. That's the biggest reason why most people fail in this business, is that they're not consistent. We've been going about 20 minutes. It's Labor Day. Appreciate you guys joining. CJ, Rock, Campbell, Clarence, what's up, man? CB. Any comments or questions about what we're doing on Labor Day as we teach people on the day where people don't work? We teach you how to create a legacy and how to make at least $1 million a year in this business. You can also do it by being a personal producer, or you can do it by building an agency. I could care less. I just know that in this business, there's tons of ways to make $1 million a year in this business. I used to think it was much tougher than it actually is, until I started thinking bigger, taking action, had social proof, got a lot of attention, all these things that we talk through when we talk about making $1 million a year and building your own insurance practice. Is this only life insurance? Any property casualty tips? What's up, Reckle Driver? This applies specifically to final expense, but it applies to the exact same thing, because you could say, well, I don't know what the average case size is for a home, but figure out what the average case size is for a house that you sell. Say you've got producers underneath you, what's your cut off of that? And then how many apps times your cut do you need to make $1 million a year with producers underneath you or you producing or whatever. It's a numbers game. What's up, Eric? You just got to figure out the numbers and break down the numbers of how to build a $1 million insurance agency. There's a lot of people that I know making $1 million, 10 million plus in this business, and it's not rocket science. It's just that those people had to put some time into the equation. They had to put some effort in the equation. They had to be consistent, to put out consistent content, whatever the case is. Dude, you can, the cut's 50%. Okay, well, tell me this, Reckle, what's the average? So let's just say this, okay. Let's say that the average sale is about $1,000 a year, okay? Let's just say this is for P&C, by the way. This is random. Let's just say it's $1,000 a year. If you get 50%, then that means your cut is, if you really have someone beneath you and you're giving them maybe base plus half of the commission, and then you're getting to keep $500, dude, you only need 2,000 apps a year to equal $1 million. 2,000 times 500 is $1 million. Okay, but you say, well, how do I get to that? Well, you could do. Let's just say you have someone. I would say a lot of P&C guys do 20 policies a month. Let's just say they do. You know, a couple of these a week. Let's just say they do like 100 homes per year. Okay. Let's say that you've got people underneath you do it. That means that in that example, you're going to need 20 agents writing on average 100 homes a year to get to 2,000 apps, and that's $1 million. But in the P&C business, as long as that business stays on the books and you do years in a row, then this one instantly becomes a 5, and then as long as you keep the business on the books, as long as you're always writing new business, dude, then you're making $5 million a year in 5 years after you do this. Am I right or am I right, Reckle Driver on YouTube? It all comes down to numbers. Most people, what they're aiming for, they don't have a goal in mind. They don't ever break down the numbers and think, what's up, James? They don't think, hey, what do I need to do to make this happen? They just think, dude, I'm just going to float through life and hope everything is peachy keen and goes amazing. But people don't put the emphasis on the focus on what they know that they need to do to succeed. Or they don't say, hey, this is what I want, and I'm going to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to make that happen for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, or whatever the case is. Any other questions before we jump off? We've got about 25 minutes on Facebook and YouTube. Any other questions about this? Was all about how to make $1 million per year and grow an insurance agency, creating $1 million of wealth every single year, and it's something that you guys can do. Thank you, Vince, CB, Campbell, Reckle Driver. Any other questions? You're right on target, Cody. Thank you, Tony. This was average numbers. This was just breaking it all down. We did even for P&C live on YouTube as well. Any other questions before we jump off? I appreciate you guys joining on Labor Day. Happy Labor Day. Hope you guys are having a productive day, whatever you're doing, whether you're making money, you're grilling, whatever the case is. What's up, Tim? This is how to build a $1 million a year insurance agency. You can do it. Anybody can do it. But we talked about you've got to break down the numbers. Then the 2 tips that I gave for recruiting for the gentleman earlier, Craig, was, hey, social proof. I'm a producer. I made $2,000 this week. Put it up on Facebook. You got friends and family looking at you. Social proof. Put legit social proof. And then after you put up, because some people lie, put up social proof. I am a producer, lead by example, and then get attention. Because if you have a system, leads a system that generates so much money per week for you, and you can plug someone else into the equation and also help them obtain that amount of money with your system and leads, then that's all that it takes.